My guest today is a cosplayer who is literally winging it with his technically impressive creature creations. Here's to elevating the Batmosphere in the new paranormal. Ladies and gentlemen, ghouls and goblins, please welcome Omegashrine cosplay himself, Steven Geary. Steven, let's begin with a lightning round. Favorite movie?
Predator.
Yes, and didn't you make a Predator cosplay for yourself?
I did. That was actually the very first cosplay that I made was Predator.
I say this in the best possible way. That is one ugly motherfucker. Favorite Halloween costume from your youth?
Sadly and oddly enough, is actually growing up, I never did Halloween stuff and trick-or-treating.
Oh?
It was, my mom was very religious, and so it was Harvest Fest and things like that. However, I would dress up in the schools, and one I made or did was like a ninja costume that I begged and pleaded my parents to let me get. So I dressed up as a ninja, as if for a kid.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Gotta be Lord of the Rings. I actually seen all the Lord of the Rings movies. I have not seen all the Harry Potter movies.
One day. First cosplay convention you attended?
In cosplay or out of cosplay?
Let's go with in cosplay.
Okay, in cosplay would be the Denver Comic-Con, which is now known as Denver Fan Expo.
Cool! What was the weirdest comment you've ever received while in costume?
Honestly, I don't know. Mainly because it's really hard to hear in some of my cosplays. I guess people just wondering, like, what are you under there? You know, they want to know what the face is underneath the mask. Like, who are you? What do you look like? What do you do? You know, kind of things like that. I think is the other weirdest comments. It's like, why does it matter?
Oh, don't worry, I wouldn't be able to hear them either, mainly because I'm a ghost and I exist in a different plane of reality where I do not interact with sound waves in the same way physical entities do. Anyway, Steven, why cosplay? How did you get into this?
It comes from just childhood fascination. So growing up, I've always loved creatures and monsters and costumes and outfits and things like that. However, as like from the child into like the adolescent, teenager age, that period of time, it kind of just disappeared. And I was a big drawer, drew all the kind of weird, crazy things that, you know, teens will draw: monsters, demons, creatures, dragons, stuff like that. And I didn't really get into, or I guess realize that I liked the monsters and creatures and costumes in the movies as much as I did as an adult. And that kind of came about in college. My buddy would go to this convention called NDK, which is Non-Descon here in Denver. It's an anime convention. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. He goes every time for spring break every year. So I want to see what this is about. And so I went to it and I was like, oh, I like this. I like the people in the costumes and the cosplays that they had and just how, you know, themselves they were in it. And so that kind of triggered me. It's like, oh, wow, how do people do this? And so that just led me down the rabbit hole and looking at different costumes or cosplays and what I could do. And from there, it led from one thing to another. And then when I graduated college, I was like, all right, now I have a little bit more free time, a little bit more resources to do something. I want to do something big, you know? And so I'm looking at what people make their cosplays out of. Because I was thinking of like, oh, I can make like a cardboard samurai out of cardboard or...
Cardboard? That's one way to think outside the box. Please, continue.
Then I just was watching Predator. I was like, I'm going to make a Predator cosplay. I really got into watching a lot more movies and getting into more of the behind the scenes things. Didn't know what it's called, you know, like I didn't know it was like, oh, this is, you know, special effects makeup or practical effects. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I'm just Googling and looking and researching. And then that just led me down the rabbit hole.
What's your most recent cosplay creation?
The most recent one that is completely finished is my Oni Samurai, my Demon Samurai. And then the one that is like right on the edge of being finished is my Man Bat.
Ah, there he is, one of my favorites from Batman's Rogues Gallery. I did notice your incredibly detailed muscle suits in your behind-the-scenes photos. Like, someone get some tape. Your creatures are totally ripped.
my college background, I have a degree in exercise science and I really love anatomy. So I was like, oh, I can get anatomy in here. Yeah, because I love like musculature and how all that stuff works. So I was like, let's see if we can incorporate that somehow. And so I'm an anatomy nerd.
I've really got into cosplaying as a bucket recently, but my outfit isn't that good. It's just a pale imitation. What's your step-by-step process in doing a single build from concept to completion?
Oh, a Pinterest board or a folder with just all of these reference images. And then I kind of look at that and will mentally think of a game plan on how I'm going to do it. And then from that game plan, is whether it be making, I'll start with like a template. That's really like the base and foundation for a cosplay is getting a template somehow, whether I make it or I'm fortunate to find one. Looks like my first Predators, I found those armor templates, for the man bat and all that stuff. I made them myself. So it starts with a template that guides me through the rest of the process.
Ah, yes, like a penny press machine. It's all making sense. Please, continue.
I don't always think of how things will come together sometimes. And my example is with the hands in Man Bat. And so when I made it, I knew this idea of I wanted the wings to be attached to the arms. And so when I was attaching the wings to the arms, I just, boom, I attached them. It's done. The next thing was like, oh, how am I going to articulate the wings with my hands? The wings are already on there. It's like, oh, I should do a glove. And so I slap a glove on there. So it wasn't thought out as well. And so it was figuring out how do I make it cohesive as I'm like kind of jumping ahead in some parts. I probably should have, like in hindsight, should have thought about the hand and the articulation of the wing to the hand before I glued the wing to the arm, because that way it gave me more space to kind of work with it and plan with it on how it was going to come together. It all worked out.
You are truly an innovator. And since you won't be able to hear people through that thing, now would be a good time to practice your echolocation. You're going to need it at whichever con you debut this masterpiece at. Which con will that be, anyway?
Fan Expo again, provided, I can figure out the heating situation in it, because that, I always tell friends, like I suffer from my art. People are like, well, how do you manage overheating and how do you manage this? I was like, I don't. I just suffer through it. There's many points in the con where I'm like, I'm dying. I need water.
Oh my.
And so Man Bat, the forgiving pieces of like Predator and my Spawn cosplay, which are full body suits, it's all one piece and has a back zipper that is hidden either by a cape or armor. And so I can leave that unzipped and have some good airflow that helps keep me cool. Man Bat is a two-piece. It's a top and a bottom. There is no zipper or venting abilities with that. So I have to figure out how I'm going to, manage my heat.
And now the question that's on all of our minds. How do you use the bathroom?
Oh, I don't. I adapt the camel mentality where I will hydrate the day before, and then like during, it's managing how much water I'm taking in, because I know I'm sweating a bunch, but I'm like taking small sips so that I don't get to the point where I'm like, oh, I gotta use the bathroom. I have not encountered it. I think for those it will be harder because it's a full body thing. So if I gotta get out of all of it. Man Bat, I tried to plan ahead this time with the gloves and the two-piece part. And so the bottoms, I can just slip my hands up the gloves and then, remove the bottoms normally. So I'm hoping that's what I can do in the event that I will have to go to the bathroom. I won't have to fully, derobe to go.
Happiness is like peeing in your pants, or in this case, your whole outfit. Everyone can see it, but only you can feel the warmth. And the warmth that your fans give you is impressive in of itself. What has changed the most in your life since your cosplay became a sensation?
Desire to not limit creativity. And I say that in that, sometimes you go through life and you are afraid to try things or be creative to do stuff. And until you try it, you don't know you can do it. And that's something that I fully embraced, because before I started the cosplay, I was like, I don't know, I can't do that. I don't have the skills to do that. And I always tell people too, when they look at my art, like they say those same comments to me that I used to say to myself is, oh, I can't do that. It's like, you don't know until you try. And we all have to start from somewhere, like Michael Jordan, I'll use a reference. Michael Jordan didn't start off as an all-star player. He probably sucked at some point. So you got to suck at something a little bit before you start getting good at it if you really want to do it. That's kind of the thing that I have adopted through the years of doing this. Don't hide the creativity. Lean into it. And whatever opportunity you have to tap into it, take advantage of it. And I use that in my work where I have the ability to do that. So I take every chance I get.
Fantastic. Utterly fantastic. Steven, thank you for shooting the sheet with me today.
You too.
My friends, I must ghost you for now. Until next time, goodbye.